Look at the top stories. US President Donald Trump issues another warning to Hamas a day after he presented the 20-point peace plan to bring Gaza war to an end. Trump says that Hamas has 3 to 4 days to respond to the Gaza peace plan. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stresses that he has not agreed to a Palestinian state in Washington talks, and it is not mentioned in the plan proposed by US President Donald Trump. US President Donald Trump has said that the UK Prime Minister Tony Blair and himself will oversee the Gaza peace plan under the plan that he has released to end the war. The Board of Peace will reportedly be chaired by Trump. Following the Gaza peace proposal, Qatar has said that it is set to hold talks with the Turkish counterparts to discuss US President's plan. Qatar's Foreign Ministry spokesperson says Hamas would study the proposal responsibly. Qatar has announced that America provided security assurances, with Israel also promising not to attack the country again. This comes after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu regretted the strikes of the Israeli Defense Forces on Doha earlier this month. US President Donald Trump said that his administration is considering attacking drug cartels coming by land in Venezuela. This comes after the US military struck several boats it claimed were carrying illicit drugs from the country. A car bomb blast outside Pakistan's paramilitary Frontier Corps headquarters in Quetta kills at least 10 people, leaving 30 others injured. The explosion was reportedly followed by heavy gunfire. Taliban has ordered internet and mobile phone data services to be cut across Afghanistan. The Taliban administration offered no immediate explanation for the outrage and could not be reached for comment. The big news that we are reporting at this hour, this is South Africa's ambassador to France, Nkosinathi Metawa, who was found dead at the foot of the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Paris. This has been reported by newspapers Le Parisien and Le Figaro. The Paris police declined to comment and calls to the South African embassy went. The South African ambassador to France served as South Africa's Minister of Arts, Culture and Sports and was reportedly missing by his wife after sending a worrying text. South Africa's Foreign Affairs Department acknowledged the situation and said a statement would be issued once official information was available. Raymond Vickery on the telecast. Raymond, such a shocking news comes to light. The South African ambassador to France has died. It is being reported that he fell off a hotel building. His wife had put a missing report with the police authorities just a couple of days ago. Do you see, I mean, there at this point of time has been no comment that has been released by the South African embassy. There is no comment that has been released by the French police administration as well, or the local officials. Now the perplexing thing is what happened that led to the death of this ambassador.
Well, thanks very much for having me. There's no question that at this point we really don't have many details. It looks as if the window was forced open on the 22nd floor and he jumped or fell to his death. The difficulty, of course, and the tie to the diplomacy is, of course, that South Africa has taken a leading role in terms of accusing Israel of genocide. So immediately there is speculation about this kind of situation. I think it's really a mark that peace really is indivisible. That when you have the kinds of war that you have in Gaza, you have the International Court of Criminal Justice being involved, then situations which ordinarily would be considered personal tragedy become exaggerated in the mind's eye of the world, and speculation feeds in about the use of violence to settle issues. Peace, like war, must be waged, and it must be waged across borders and across conflicts, because the reality is that when there is widespread war, it involves everyone, and even a matter which about which we know very little now becomes the object of intense speculation. One hopes that this was a one-off personal kind of tragedy, was not involved in international diplomacy, but that is the speculation which runs rampant whenever there's this kind of a situation.
Right, absolutely. Now, of course, there is going to be an investigation that is going to be carried out. We will very soon be able to find out what really happened. Did he commit suicide? I don't know. Was he pushed out of the hotel window? What really happened is at this point of time, because the family members are not speaking. The wife of the ambassador has not spoken out. As I already mentioned, that the French authorities have not made any comment. This is a report that has come out in French newspapers, and from there we have gotten this information. You think this could become a diplomatic problem for France?
Well, the situation is such in regard to Gaza that anything that has to do with accusations of genocide, which had come from South Africa, could be involved. But again, I say it's a matter of great speculation now, and we shouldn't go beyond that. But of course, it's exacerbated by the situations which have occurred in regard to enemies of President Putin mysteriously falling out of windows and meeting deaths in a way which is very, very suspicious. We do not have that at this point. All we have is that the window was forced, that there was some indication from his family that there was a problem. The nature of that problem has not been revealed, and so we have to await further information before jumping to conclusions. But as I said before, this fact that you have these kinds of speculations immediately indicates the turmoil and displacement which is in the diplomatic world and in the world in general these days, and makes it all the more important that leaders maintain their cool and try to promote peace more than war.
All right, Raymond, thank you very much for sharing your views. In fact, stay on with me. We are tracking other news on our bulletin right now. Qatar has now announced that the United States provided security assurances, with Israel also promising not to attack the country again. The commitment came after a phone call between President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Qatar's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Majid Al-Ansari confirmed that the assurances were clear and guaranteed by President Trump. He added that Israel had pledged not to attack Qatar in any capacity, expressing satisfaction with the received security guarantees. Alan Pinker is also on the telecast with me. Alan, it's interesting to note the things that transpired yesterday, the phone call that was made by President Trump, which also had Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. This phone call was made to the Qatari leadership. There have been assurances that have been given by the Israeli Prime Minister that Israel will never again strike into Qatar territory. It will not invade or violate Qatari territory, Qatari sovereignty. And he's also apologized. Quite the turnaround from the time when the Israeli strikes happened, and Benjamin Netanyahu was steadfast in his resolve, saying that no matter where Hamas terrorists are burrowed, we will be striking, whether it is in Israel, whether it is in Gaza or in Lebanon, or for that matter in Qatar. Why do you think? Do you think there has been much pressure that has been exerted by President Trump for Netanyahu to change his tone?
Oh, there's no question. I mean, it's only pressure. It's 100% pressure. Otherwise, he would not have done so. In fact, you mentioned that before he said there would be no immunity. The day before, on Sunday, on Fox News in America, Mr. Netanyahu was interviewed and said that not only will he not apologize for the attack in Doha, the capital of Qatar, but he deems it, if he deems it necessary, Israel will do it again because there's no immunity and no impunity for terrorists. Okay. The next day at the White House, before that press conference about this Trump plan to end the war in Gaza, Netanyahu, as you said correctly, participates in a tripartite conference call and not only apologizes, but pledges that this would never happen again and gives his word to both Prime Minister Mohammed Al-Thani of Qatar and to President Donald Trump of the U.S. This is 100% a result of pressure. In fact, I think it was not so mild pressure. He was made to do this.
Right. Right, absolutely. He was made to do this. At this point of time, Qatar remains the negotiator. We've seen Qatar's statement. It has been the spokesperson of Hamas. Qatar went on and said that, Hamas is going to study this entire 20-point peace plan that has been shared by Donald Trump, and and Hamas is going to act on it, quote unquote, responsibly. Israel has its reservations on Qatar being the negotiator and the spokesperson of Hamas. Is there trust deficit that continues, or after the phone call things are going to change?
No, I don't think there's a trust deficit. I mean, Israel could say what it wants in terms of having doubts about Qatar. But the facts don't lie. Since the war began on October 7th, Qatar has been the prime and leading negotiator and mediator. And whether Israel likes it or not, Qatar has the most leverage or influence or impact on Hamas. And whether Israel likes what Qatar is doing, Israel trusts Qatar on this. And the evidence to that degree is that the head of the Israeli Mossad, the intelligence agency, regularly goes to Qatar to consult with the Qataris on further negotiations. So, yeah, after the attack in Qatar in September, the Israeli attack in Qatar in September, the Qataris announced that they are stepping back from negotiations because Israel did an irresponsible thing, quote unquote, attacking both the mediators and the negotiators, the Hamas negotiators and the Qatari mediators. But I think that the phone call yesterday and Qatar's assurances to Trump that they will exert as much pressure as they can and influence as they are capable of on Hamas to accept this, I think that brings back the Qataris front and center of this process. President Trump, an hour ago, said that Hamas has 3 to 4 days in which they need to respond to his plan, to the ceasefire and war-ending plan, 20-point plan. The Qataris are involved right in there, but what Hamas will say, I do not know.
Right. Alan, thank you for joining me on the telecast and sharing your views. Shifting focus to the other big development. At the Labour Party conference in Liverpool in UK, the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has said that he welcomes the new US initiative to bring peace to the Middle East. In the keynote address, Keir Starmer has also reaffirmed UK's stance on Palestinian statehood, saying that UK now recognises Palestine.
Conference, I welcome the new US initiative to bring peace to the Middle East. I strongly support efforts to end the fighting, release every hostage, and urgently scale up aid into Gaza. All sides must now come together to bring this initiative into reality, because we must restart the hope of a two-state solution, a safe and secure Israel, alongside the long-promised Palestinian state, a state that this country now recognizes.
This comes as the White House has released a 20-point document after President Trump secured Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's support for a U.S.-sponsored peace proposal. The deal was called for an immediate ceasefire, an exchange of hostages held by Hamas, Israeli withdrawal from Gaza, Hamas disarmament, and a transitional government led by an international body. Other world leaders in Europe and Asia have also welcomed the Gaza peace plan and praised U.S. President Donald Trump's efforts and leadership to end the war in Gaza. U.S. President Donald Trump has spoken about the possibility of the government shutdown. President Donald Trump said that there are many federal workers that may be laid off if the U.S. government shuts down. This comes as both Democrats and Republicans remain deadlocked with high stakes for federal employees and government services. With only hours remaining before the midnight deadline, the lack of agreement on spending could shut down the U.S. government, halting several government services and delaying pay for federal employees. However, last-minute funding agreements have prevented several potential shutdowns in recent years. During the first Trump administration, a 35-day partial government shutdown affected more than 300,000 federal employees. President Trump has blamed the Democrats for the current deadlock.
Well, we made you a lot, and that's only because of the Democrats. And as you know, they want to be able to take care of people that are coming into our country illegally, and no system can handle that. And so we're totally opposed on that. But we can't take it. We just can't do it. I'd love to do everybody. I'd love to do the whole world. But our country can't handle people that come into our country illegally. And they want to give them full health care benefits. They want to open the wall again. Can you believe it? I can't even believe it. They want to open the wall. They haven't taken away boys playing in women's sports. They haven't done that. Men playing in women's sports. It's like they don't change. They lost an election in a landslide, and they don't change.
U.S. President Donald Trump has told hundreds of senior American military officers that the nation is reawakening the warrior spirit. Speaking at the Marine Corps base Quantico in Virginia, Donald Trump praised the history of U.S. military power, from the cavalry that settled the Great Plains to Generals Patton, Bradley, and MacArthur. The president said that his message to the generals and admirals was simple, that he supports them and has their back 100%. The rare gathering was called by the U.S. Defense Secretary, bringing together commanders from around the world.
Together we're reawakening the warrior spirit, and this is a spirit that won and built this nation. And from the cavalry that tamed the Great Plains to the ferocious, unyielding power of Patton, Bradley, and the great General Douglas MacArthur, these are all great men. In this effort, we're a team, and so my message to you is very simple. I am with you, I support you, and as president, I have your backs 100%. You'll never see me even waver a little.
U.S. President Donald Trump has also noted that it would be an insult to the United States if he does not receive the Nobel Prize, and not getting it would be an insult to America.
Will you get the Nobel Prize? Absolutely not. They'll give it to some guy that didn't do a damn thing. They'll give it to a guy that wrote a book about the mind of Donald Trump and what it took to solve the wars. And he'll get the Nobel Prize will go to a writer. No, but well, let's see what happens. But it's be a big insult to our country. I will tell you that. I don't want it. I want the country to get it.
There are at least 10 people that have been killed in a suicide bombing outside the paramilitary headquarters in Quetta in Pakistan. There are more than 30 people that have been injured in the attack on the security installation. The explosion was followed by heavy gunfire in the vicinity of Zargoon Road in Quetta. The provincial health minister reported that 2 law enforcement personnel were killed, while the rest of the dead were civilians. Balochistan's Chief Minister Mir Sarfaraz Bukti has condemned the incident, labeling it a terrorist attack. He also stated that at least 4 attackers were killed by security personnel. Pakistan's President Asif Ali Zardari has also condemned the attack. So far, no group has claimed responsibility. I have with me Major General Dr. Rajan Kochar. Thank you very much, General Kochar. And of course, an unfortunate incident that has taken place. But these blasts and attacks in Balochistan have become quite the routine.
Thank you, Megha. Yes, I totally agree with you that it is a routine affair now, because the security forces are losing control of this entire situation in trying to curb these attacks. And the footprints of these attacks, I very, very clearly uh, relates to the modus operandi of the Majid Brigade, which is the suicide brigade of the BLA. And a vehicle-borne IED followed by uh, this Majid Brigade people covering the fire with their small arms fire in a paramilitary headquarters is a very, very serious happening. I mean, we should not take it lightly when a headquarter of a paramilitary force, and for the information of all the viewers, Quetta has a sizable military presence. They have core headquarters of the Pakistan Army, 12 core headquarters there. And if these kind of attacks can take place in Quetta, it has a direct significance to the China-Pakistan economic corridor, because these attacks are very targeted attacks. They are carried out to demoralize the Pakistan army, which is already in a state of a demoralization.
Yeah.
Because I see that reports which are emanating from that place is that many of these Pakistan army personnel are not wanting to serve there, and they're asking for postings elsewhere and trying to move out on leave and things like that. And another very interesting thing you would like to note is that there has been a cohesion of late between the BLA and the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan. And most important is that how these people are able to get the intelligence of the movement of these forces, of the security forces on their uh, convoys, how they are moving. They are able to get this information, and you can also relate to uh, the futuristic scenario in Balochistan, where Pakistan is colluding with the United States also to get some of the United States firms here for a crypto deal or
Yeah.
for
It's also
way of.
interesting to know in terms of how Pakistan has been able to persuade the US administration to designate the Baloch Liberation Army as a terrorist organization, as an international terrorist organization. There are also obviously, huge Chinese stakes that are at this point of time in jeopardy in Balochistan in wake of this upheaval that is taking place, in wake of these terror attacks that have been taking place. Of course, there were a number of Balochi civilians that had died in these Pakistani military strikes that had been conducted. What do you think is going to be the result of these repeated strikes? Of course, the end goal of the Balochis is to liberate themselves from Pakistan.
You're absolutely right, Megha. See, the ultimate analysis for them is to get freedom for Balochistan. And the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa area also is yearning for a similar kind of end state, because what they are looking at a greater Pashtunistan, because on the other side of Afghanistan also the same ethnicity as far as Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is concerned, they have the Pashtuns on this side also, other side also, and they want to unite this entire region. So this is a very serious security implication for Pakistan, and I think that is why Pakistan has gone to America. Because in my assessment, I feel that Pakistan is not able to contain the situation, because BLA was not the UN was not able to proclaim BLA as a terrorist organization, though America tried its bit to do that. But at the same time, we are seeing a situation now, and it's a very, very regular happening, uh, that the Pakistanis, especially the ground forces, are not able to contain the situation. That's why they are using their air power. As you would be aware, Megha, sometime back, a few days back, Pakistan carried out an air attack in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa in which 30 innocent people were killed there. So we are seeing these kind of incidents because the ground forces are not able to contain these strikes by the Baluchistan Liberation Army and the Baluchistan National Front, because you see all these splinter organizations today, as I am seeing, is have all united together, and now they are a potent force of almost 7,000 to 8,000 trained fighters, and they have the advantage that the local population is with them. They are able to get the intelligence, and they have the firepower and the ammunition available because it is coming from Afghanistan. You would be aware that it's a porous border, and what the Americans have actually left there is slowly coming this side because Afghanistan Taliban is in support of these elements here. As you would be also aware that the relations between Afghanistan and Pakistan are no longer that cordial. Even Bagram airport, which the Americans wanted to take over from Afghanistan, has been denied to them. So I have a feeling, or my analysis suggests to me, that these frequent meetings between President Trump and General Munir and Shahbaz Sharif are indicating to me that the Americans want a base in Pakistan, maybe in Baluchistan, on the pretext of counter-terrorism, because that is one of the statements which President Trump has been making, that we have to influence the counter-terrorism operations in Pakistan. So there is a strong possibility. That's why this all of a sudden unusual bonhomie between Pakistan and the United States. What United States wanted India to do, I think Pakistan is doing it for them now.
Yeah.
And in future, I would visualize greater cooperation between the United States and Pakistan, because the United States has three interests. One is Iran, because it can dominate Iran from this place. Second is the Central Asian republics, because it can dominate the movement into the Central Asian Republic. And the third is to limit the Chinese influence in Pakistan. So all these
Yeah.
three geopolitical factors I visualize are behind what the USA is trying to do with Pakistan.